There's a piece of advice out there that's so common, it's practically a cliche. We're told it's the secret sauce for success. But in this explainer, we're going to break down why, for a lot of really capable people, that advice isn't just unhelpful, it's actually making things worse.
You know the one. Fake it till you make it. You've heard it a million times, right? Act confident, act successful, act like you already belong, and one day you will. It sounds so simple, but here's the truth that nobody talks about.
For anyone who comes from a background of scarcity, this advice tends to completely backfire. And if you've tried it and it just left you feeling more anxious, like a total fraud, or just bone tired, you are not alone. And it's not because you weren't trying hard enough. So let's just get this straight right from the very beginning. Your struggle with this advice is not some kind of personal failing. It's because the advice itself is built on an assumption that just doesn't apply to anyone who hasn't had a safety net. Okay, let's get to the real heart of the issue. The popular story is that it's all about your mindset. You just need to think differently. But the real problem, well, it goes a lot deeper than your thoughts. Here it is, the hidden assumption. The entire idea of faking it rests on one thing: your nervous system being calm enough to even play along. But for people who grew up with real financial pressure, that's almost never the case.
And this really shows the difference. See, we talk about mindset like it's just this collection of thoughts you can swap out, but a scarcity state, that's not a belief. It's a physiological reality. It means your body, your whole nervous system, has been trained for years to scan for threats and prioritize survival over everything else. So, what happens when you try to act confident? Well, your system doesn't see that as personal growth. It reads it as risk. All of a sudden, being visible, speaking up in a meeting, claiming you're an expert, it feels fundamentally dangerous, like you're painting a target on your back. And the result of that internal alarm bell? It's not confidence, not even close. It's the exact opposite. It's that endless spiral of overthinking every single thing, over-preparing until you're exhausted, second-guessing every move you make, and sometimes just total paralysis. Your system is just doing its job, trying to protect you from what it thinks is a threat. So, the big question is, why does this advice seem to work so well for some people? Well, it's because there's a huge piece of the puzzle that's almost always left out of the conversation. The people who can pull this off aren't necessarily braver. They're buffered. They have a cushion. That buffer could be savings in the bank, social status, a family who can bail them out, or even just a track record that gives them a wide margin for error. That buffer completely changes the stakes of what happens if they fail.
Which means what looks like faking it from the outside is actually something else entirely. It's low-risk experimentation. When a failure isn't going to threaten your ability to pay rent or buy food, you have the freedom to just try things out. Their nervous system stays quiet because the real world's consequences are managed.
And this brings us right to the core of it all. The real divider isn't confidence or mindset. It's whether you are operating from a place of urgency or non-urgency. Urgency, it forces you into short-term, reactive choices. But non-urgency, which is a luxury that buffer provides, it allows you to wait, to plan, to sequence your moves for a much better outcome.
Now, just a quick but really important warning here. Once we understand this, it's tempting to think, okay, I get it. I just need to be more calm. But that can become its own kind of trap. See, the key thing is this. Real calm can't be another job, another thing you have to perform perfectly. If you start telling yourself, I have to stay relaxed or I'll lose everything, you've just created the exact same pressure with different words. Real, lasting calm is the result of having a structure that reduces your actual risk. It's an outcome, not something you have to force. So, if faking is out, what actually works? Well, the path forward isn't about aspiring to be something you're not. It's about protecting what you have. It boils down to 3 practical shifts. First, always focus on reducing your downside before you even think about chasing some big upside. Second, give yourself permission to make progress in private. You don't have to broadcast every move or perform a level of certainty you just don't feel. And third, replace that constant feeling of urgency with deliberate sequencing. Focus on stability first. From that stability, you can build options. Growth comes last, on top of that solid foundation. So instead of that high-pressure question, how do I get out of this mess as fast as possible? A much more powerful and grounded question to ask yourself is simply this: what is the next stabilizing move I can make? It shifts the entire focus from escape to construction.
Let's bring this all together with one last critical idea. We're taught to believe that if we can just somehow manufacture enough confidence, then we'll create safety and success for ourselves. But the reality is the complete opposite. Confidence is not the cause of safety. It's the natural byproduct of it. When your nervous system finally stops feeling like it's constantly in danger, when your downside is actually protected, that's when clarity and good decision-making show up. Real confidence grows from there. So if fake it till you make it never ever worked for you, I want you to leave this explainer with one single thought. You weren't broken. You weren't failing at being confident. Your system was doing its job logically and correctly to protect you in an environment that felt deeply unsafe. And just acknowledging that is the first real step toward building a different, more stable path forward.